Coming up on UGTV. A special session of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Good evening, everyone. I'll ask the clerk to announce the meeting and call the roll.
We have an amended notice of a special meeting of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County to be held Monday, July 25th, 2016 at 5:00 p.m. in the Commission Chambers for the final 2017 budget public hearing. Immediately following in the 5th floor conference room will be the Public Works and Safety Standing Committee, followed by the Administration and Human Services Standing Committee meeting. And if necessary, a budget workshop will be held in the 5th floor conference room following the Standing Committee meetings. Roll call: Townsend.
Here.
McKiernan.
Here.
Murguia. Johnson,
Here.
Kane, Markley, Walters, Philbrook, Bynum, Walker, Holland.
Here. I'll go ahead and remove the suspense. We will have a budget hearing after the standing committee in the 5th floor. So we will have that. That is scheduled for tonight. But tonight is our final budget hearing, and I want to thank you for coming. Before we begin, I want to announce that anyone who is interested in addressing the commission regarding the budget or the action plan may sign up at either of the tables located by the chamber doors. If you have not yet signed up on your way in and you wish to address the commission, please go to one of those tables to sign up at this time. I also want to let you know that the names will be called in order according to the sign-up sheets. The clerk will announce who's speaking and who's on deck, and you can be ready to come forward. But before I open up the public hearing, I want to turn it over to County Administrator Doug Bach.
Thank you, Mayor, Commission. Just to say a few things before we move into tonight's session. I think the first thing is kind of a look back over the sessions we've had leading up to tonight's budget. We really get started on this last year. I think that's been a commitment by the governing body that we would kind of work budget throughout the year and would not just dive in and try to do everything in a couple of weeks. So we started our strategic planning in October. So currently we're starting to think about what our strategic planning will be for this 2018 budget cycle, just to give everybody that precursor. But then we moved into February. We really did our first public hearing, and I will say the way this budget's set out, that's our main public hearing that we get into, listen to comments from the public, be able to work through that, take some written sessions that come in. We go through year-end review, but then work through workshops leading through the month of June. And then which led up to the proposed presentation of the budget that I put forward on July 7th. And then we've had a few workshops since that time leading up to today. So Commission's put a lot of time and effort into strategizing as to what would come into this year's budget to put you in a position to adopt what comes forward this week, and then continue to look forward for long year plans. So tonight I'm going to ask both Reginald Lindsay, our budget manager, and Wilba Miller, our community development director, are going to come forward and give different parts of the presentation leading up before we move into the public hearing. So with that, we'll start with Reggie. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Good evening, Mayor Holland and commissioners. Our 2017 proposed budget is a $345 million budget that is balanced on both the revenue side and the expenditure side. This budget funds 31 state certified funds, and through these state certified funds, we fund over 200 services. The main sources of support are property tax at 25%, sales tax at 19%. This year, sales tax at 19% is 4% higher as far as its piece of the pie than it has been in the past. Last year it was 14%. Our other major sources of revenue are franchise tax and charges for services. On the expenditure side of the house, where we have funds going out, public safety is our major source of expenditures that are going out at 40%, and public works at 21%, and the community services are 12% of the pie. Now I'll turn it over to our community development director, Wilbur Miller.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. Bach. As you know, the Unified Government of Wyandotte County receives an annual allocation of entitlement funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, for the following programs: Community Development Block Grant, the Home Investment Partnership Program, and the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. In order to receive these funds, the Unified Government must submit a 5-year consolidated plan, which includes an assessment of housing needs for both affordable and special needs housing, a housing market analysis, housing priorities, and strategies to address those needs, a 5-year strategic plan, and an annual action plan. The 2016 action plan is the second year of our current 5-year plan. The action plan consolidates those 3 grant programs into a single application, which includes a description of the projects and activities expected to be undertaken using grant funds and any expected program income. Examples of eligible activities for the CDBG program are shown on the current slide. The plan also includes actions that the Unified Government expects to take during our program years to pursue strategies described in the 5-year plan. The unified government must hold 2 public hearings to inform the community about the plan, the process, and to obtain community input. As Doug said, the first public hearing was held on February 25th, 2016, prior to our developing our annual action plan. We are fulfilling the second public hearing requirement tonight. The unified government requested applications for 2017 Community Development Block Grant funding, and a community forum was held on April 7th to describe this process. Applications were accepted from April 7th until April 29th. They were reviewed, and applications recommended for funding were brought forward to the full commission and approved on June 9th, 2016. Those approved applications are included in the draft annual action plan, which was published on June 16th, and citizens were given 30 days to comment. The plan budget is summarized by the following slides and is shown by categories and activities. You can see the community development block grant budget is $2,285,166. The home funds, $568,028, and the emergency solutions grant, $182,274 in total funding. The plan must be submitted to HUD 45 days prior to our fiscal year that starts October 1st, which means submission can be no later than August 15th. Failure to submit by that date will result in an automatic loss of funds. The submission of the annual action plan will also include this year the amended citizen participation plan, which has been revised to include the new requirements of the new federally affirmatively furthering fair housing final rule. Say that twice or 3 times. The amended citizen participation plan was also made available on June 16th for 30-day citizen comment period. The unified government has joined a collaborative of communities in the metropolitan area to develop the nation's first regional fair housing assessment and strategy, which is currently underway. A resolution calling for the adoption of both the annual action plan and the amended citizen participation plan will be presented for commission approval during the July 28th 2016 adoption of the unified government budget. This concludes my portion of the presentation. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor. That concludes the information we wanted to present tonight. At this time, I'd recommend we move forward to the public hearing.
All right, thank you. I'll now open the public hearing. I'll ask the clerk to read the statement governing this public hearing.
We would like to welcome all present to this public meeting of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, regarding the Unified Government's 2016 amended budget, the 2017 proposed budget, and the 2016 to 2017 annual action plan and the citizen participation plan. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of your views. We would, however, remind you that there are 3 individuals signed up to speak this evening. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and the city of residency for the record. On deck means that you will be next to the podium. We appreciate your efforts to be considerate of those at the podium. Once comments begin, we would appreciate no talking, clapping, or outburst, so you will not disturb the hearing for recording purposes and for the TV viewers. If any distractions occur, you may be asked to leave the room. We ask that anyone with a cell phone to please turn them off or switch to non-audio. I will now call the names of those who signed up to speak according to the time they signed in. First, we have Dennis Harris to the podium and Marcia Rupp on deck.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Dennis L. Harris. My address is 5926 North 123rd Street, Kansas City, Kansas, 66109. I don't know how many years I've been here for a hearing of this nature. On behalf of the Wyandotte County Fair Board, I've been a member of the Fair Board for some 15 to 20 years. Time gets by as you get advanced to my age. I have unsuccessfully tried to convince this board that the Fair Association and the Wyandotte County Fair Foundation is worthy of budgetary funding equal to or greater than what was received by this organization prior to Schlitterbaum moving in on our old fairgrounds or the new fairgrounds at 13700 Pulford. We just completed our 6th county fair at the new fairgrounds, which I call them, where we're occupied now. from the 12th through the 16th. The grounds prior to the fair were probably in the best shape and the best looking that they had been in the 6 years we've been there, thanks to volunteers. We have no employees except during the fair. Everything that was done in preparation for the fair was done by volunteers, board members, volunteering their equipment, their time, and their effort to ensure that this annual county function was successful. I believe it was very successful this year. We grew after the mud on Tuesday, through a little less mud on Wednesday, and Thursday it was almost dry in the majority of the places. By Friday, we had a few mud puddles and a couple wet spots. By Saturday, the midway, the areas in the ground were pretty dry. The crowds grew as the weather and our conditions improved from Tuesday through Saturday.
There is a 3-minute time limit, and you are now at 2 minutes, so I'm giving you a 1-minute warning.
Thank you. I previously submitted a budget.
All right, we just had a motion. Should we go to, we have 3 people speaking. Can we reward those 3 people if they want to do 5 minutes each?
Yeah. Perfect.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Sir, please continue.
Thank you. That gives me 3 more minutes or 4? Don't add very well. I'm very pleased with the manner in which the fair happened this year and the results of the fair. But the fair isn't the only thing we do at the fairgrounds. Fairgrounds have been utilized for many, many community activities. This past June, Crossline held the first barbecue contest that I'm aware of that's been since the old fairgrounds, when we used to have a lot of them at the fairgrounds. It wasn't huge this year, but it's the potential of growing. There were 35 teams that entered. They paid entry fees in excess of $300 to be there, and so much per class that they entered a product in. They prepared food that was subsequently served in the Crossline kitchen down at 7th and Kansas Avenue, or just off of 7th and Kansas Avenue. They are now planning on another event next year at the fairgrounds. Numerous receptions and weddings have taken place in the major building that we have available on the fairgrounds. Although in retrospect, had we known today, at the time we built that building, what we know today, that building would never have been built. It was built as a horse facility, an animal facility. It was not heated, it was not air conditioned, and there was 2 bathrooms were in the building. At that time, we anticipated funding through either bonds or other means to build an exhibition hall with meeting rooms and facilities for our 4-Hers to have club meetings, etc. We never received the bonds or that funding, and that building is still in phase 5 of the development of the fairgrounds. We're
Mr.
in
Harris,
phase 2.
you're now at the 4 minutes. I'll give you a 1 minute to wrap up your comments.
We've had antique shows, we have antique shows planned, we've had gun shows, we've had guns and knife shows, we've had wedding receptions. We've worked to develop use of the building as best we can. We still do not have heating or air, but we've generated some income. We have, thanks to members of this panel, at least 3 of them, funding for the 5 trap fields that were authorized by this body in perpetuity in 2011. The funding that we received is approximately 40% of what was needed. But through donations, hard work of volunteers, donation of equipment and materials, we're going to build all 5 of them. We've got 2 that we're in the process of running electricity to and opening them, hopefully by the middle of September. The other 3, we hope, will be completed by October of this year. The Kansas Trap Association is already planning the possibility, one more event,
You're out of time, sir. Appreciate your coming today.
Northeast Kansas zone in spring.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
We have Marcia Rupp to the podium and Daniel Welch on deck.
Good evening to the mayor, to the county administrator and assistant county administrator, and all the commissioners tonight. I want to talk about our emergency units, fire, our knights in shining armor, the fire department and the police department. I want to make sure that they, if they can, to get all the material and equipment that they need to keep us safe, and new fire departments out west. I watched a segment on TV, and I believe it was the Overland Park Fire Department, and they talked about how the new houses now are made of cheap and lightweight material. And if you go out to 130th and Pulford Road and you look northeast, wow, I mean, that's all you see is new homes, all the building we're doing, you know, the training center coming in. We really need a fire department out west. And I don't know if you've ever looked into this, but we had some help with building a police department at Midtown with the federal. And, you know, we don't have a Homeland Security office in Kansas City, Kansas. Not in Kansas at all. We work out of the one in Missouri is what we use. So that might be somebody that we could go in to partner with. Just bring up some suggestions. Also, while I'm up here, I want to talk about Parallel Parkway. I know we did a really good job of paving, and I see that Mike Tovin's in the audience, and I know we did a really good job of paving the Leavenworth Road the Leavenworth Road, and also the State Avenue. It's beautiful, and people were traveling Parallel when all those were being done, and Parallel is just a mess. It needs to be grinded and overlaid, or either if we can't afford it right now, someone needs to go along where that pavement has moved. You know, when the pavement moves, it gets warm, it moves, and it causes a seam and it protrudes up. And, you know, as well as your car going down and hitting a pothole, it's just as bad when your car hits one of those. And there's, like, from about 82nd Street down Parallel, clear through down to 47th, it's really bad. You know, it's going to tear up a lot of cars. So if we could just do something about Parallel Parkway. And while I'm up here, I want to thank, and I really meant to do this tonight, this is one of the things I want to do. I want to thank the people that really helped the neighborhood watch leaders. And I know that if they were here with me, and a lot of them know I'm going to talk about this, is that they would say so too. I want to thank the guys that do all the abatement mowing, Lance and his group, wonderful. God bless them. They make our neighborhoods look better. I want to thank the guys that come out and fix our signs when they're bent, our neighborhood watch signs, the other signs on the roads. They never get thanked. I want to thank them. I love them. I want to thank the street department for all the work they do plowing and paving our streets, fixing the potholes whenever they can. And we hope they can fix Parallel Parkway. And all the other ones that I haven't mentioned, the workers that are out there doing those jobs every day that never get noticed. I mean, a big thank you. And a thank you to all the commissioners that help the neighborhood watch leaders, because I know a lot of you do. And also I've had a lot of help from Gordon, our assistant deputy administrator. Thank you so much.
Daniel Welch to the podium, and he is our final speaker.
Like it. Give him 5 minutes.
Dan Welch, 6221 Armstrong, Kansas City, Kansas. Commissioners, mayor, administrators. Those who know me know I come to talk about parks. The proposed 2017 UG budget for parks is generally satisfactory. I found the fire department study very interesting. Yes, the fire department study. It proposes combining 8 fire stations into 4 superior and better located fire stations, thus affecting our parks. The 4 parks affected are Parkwood, Clam, Kensington, and Emerson. Only one fire station located in the corner of Bethany Park is not affected. The fate of these 4 old stations, as well as our parks, is yet undecided. But at least we know, through the magic of the internet, that the fate of these stations, as well as our parks, is readily in view for public discussion. I can only hope that the current study of our public parks by Verio Associates, due next spring, is published on the internet as well. But I cross my fingers, as it appears our park department access to the internet is limited by UG bureaucracy. Park facility data often is very limited, and many park event postings are often old as well as incomprehensive. Some important information about our parks is completely missing, such as the recent Marshall Creek Dam inspection report. I mention this report. It is the 4th inspection of the dam since the Army Corps of Engineers 1978 inspection. The first inspection included a complete recalculation of dam water flow capability, which ensured us the 1930s calculations were correct. However, the first and subsequent inspections recommended certain actions as well as more detailed inspections. A few of these inspections have been performed, and then only after concerned citizens asked the state of Kansas for assistance. Without publication of the latest inspection, it appears the Marshall Creek Dam remains in continual, uncorrected, and unmonitored deterioration, and that this deterioration is hidden from public view. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will now close our public hearing, and we will reconvene upstairs. Commissioners, the 5 commissioners who have the standing committee, we will start that. I'm trying to think of what time to start that. You want 10 minutes, so at 20 till. We'll start that meeting at 20 till 6, and then immediately following that standing committee, we'll have about a 10-minute break, and we will begin our budget hearing. So thank you all for coming tonight, and we are moving upstairs.